unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan. It's unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
All right, we did it. Last week of February, I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich.
Not exactly sure what we did, but we did it.
I feel like should we start the show? Should we start the show with a rousing chorus of "Sup" because we're trying to be less white so we can get a job at Coke? What's up, white? Sup with the whiteness. What's up? Whiteness is whack. Just do the whole Joey I'm 19 thing. What the fuck was that about? By the way, that's just flat out racist. How the fuck what's white? What's black? What's acting black?
Wait, what are we talking about?
Yeah, what's happening?
Oh, you didn't hear about Coke?
No. Like
Coke,
the drug or the drink?
The Coca-Cola has been all over the news. A whistleblower in one of their sensitivity training things, one of the digital packets they were given, the advice was try to be less white. And then they listed a bunch of reasons that make you white. And rightfully so. People were like, that's the most racist shit you could do in a business besides just being like, get out of here, darky, whitey, Jew, or Kike McKikerberg or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying?
In what context, though, are they encouraging them to obfuscate their whiteness? What is this?
Apparently.
Of what?
Inclusivity. Everything's to the god of inclusivity these days.
But just in general conduct, company wide, or were these sales reps? Were they targeting certain markets?
Yeah, was this?
It was, according to the whistleblower, it was an online trading seminar, and part of the packet was tips to be less white. And hold on, I'm trying to pull it up here real quick. Quotes from it. Research shows that by age 3 or 4, children understand that it is better to be white. I'm calling bullshit on that. Here we go. This is now. Why is this assigned? Why are these? Before I say it, I don't know why these are assigned to white people, because this isn't white stuff. This is responsible stuff. But to be less white is to be less oppressive, less arrogant, less certain, less defensive, less ignorant, more humble. Listen, believe, break with apathy, break with white solidarity. The other slide.
So you're making sweeping generalizations about somebody's race, huh?
Absolutely. It's fucking racist. It's all there is to it.
It's not racism.
There's no debate on this. If you've ever, first of all, if you've never talked to a black man who's been told to act more black, or why do you act white, it's because you've never been close enough friends with a black man for him to have that conversation with you. That's on you. So if you're listening and you think I'm making this shit up, that's on you. But tell a black man to be more white or less white or more black or less black.
Yeah, just flip the script. Just say, hey, act less black.
No, it's not even about flipping the script.
Probably look at you and be like, what the fuck did you just say to me?
It's about, I had a friend growing up. He was black, and his dad was a lawyer, highly educated man. His mother died when he was young. Highly educated son, raised his son on his own, did his best to, give him as good of a starting point as you can in life. And, this friend, he didn't have an urban accent. He didn't talk like that. And people would always go, you're the whitest black guy I know. And he actually sat me down one time and was like, when people say that shit pisses me the fuck off. What the fuck does that mean? What is white? What is acting white?
Yeah, because he paid attention in school. He's acting white.
One of the slides from this says, in the U.S. and in other Western nations, white people are socialized to feel that they are inherently superior because they are white.
I don't recall having these conversations when we were coming up, guys.
Maybe it's just me, my personality. I don't feel inherently superior to anyone based on anything I can't control. If you're a piece of shit who rapes children, yeah, I'm better than you. I have no problem saying that. If you're a fucking serial killer, I'm better than you. Why? Because I don't do those behaviors. But
you can't fight racism with racism, right?
Well,
Correct.
that's what we're doing now, apparently.
And it doesn't take much to, like, if you just said there are places in America where people are being raised to believe that they're better than others because of their whiteness. It's that's a true statement.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have something that you can actually confront. Racism in America. Now that if you could properly identify it. If you say America is racist, what do you do with that? How do you fight that? Why is America racist? Well, because there's racist people in it. Okay, well, let's identify how many racist people does it take to be racist? It's kind of like how many, cricket legs can you get in your peanut butter before it can't be called peanut butter anymore? Like, they're percentage. But I don't feel like we're at anywhere near that percentage. Yes, I would like to have less cricket legs in my peanut butter, but I don't feel like I'm opening the peanut butter and seeing nothing but cricket legs. Do you get my analogy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
No, but there are people who do. That is the problem. Like, there are people that just think there are just jars of cricket legs on the shelf at every fucking grocery store.
And we've gotten to the point where we're just throwing out these terms. It's not enough to not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. You have to do, like, we need to end racism. These nebulous bullshit terms that, okay, first of all, you're never going to end racism. It starts in somebody's mind. It's a feeling, a thought, whatever, your soul, whatever. Of course, that's the other thing, that all white people are inherently racist. They're born that way. They can't help it. And it's like, okay, are you saying that everybody's born with a predilection towards their own people
Actually,
that look like them?
Yeah,
then
kinda.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. But if you're going to say that one race just pops out of their mother's gaping maw of a fucking twat and just fucking hops out and starts fucking goose stepping and zig heiling through the fucking hallways of the hospital, I don't buy it. Bullshit. I mean, bullshit.
Remember tribes?
I was 5.5 in a state-run fucking home for kids, and I was in there with mostly black kids, and no race was never an issue until we hit about 10 years old. That's the honest to God's truth. We never fought over race. We fought over, he's got the toy I want. He got away with something. What kids do. So don't because you're a fucking hate-filled cocksucking adult, don't put that shit on the children and say 3-4 years old, they know it's better to be white than black. Really?
No. There's another slide that says to be less white is to be less oppressive, less arrogant, less certain, less defensive, less ignorant, more humble, listen, believe, break with apathy, break with white solidarity. Let's strike the last two and just take the ones that are real concepts. And like that is a long list of anti-white bullshit. What this says is white people are oppressive, arrogant, defensive, ignorant, not humble. I mean, are there people like? Yeah, of course. There's people, but how is that a trait that's exclusive to white people by any extent?
This is the problem that I have had for fucking years with treating everybody with groups of people like one monolithic group that they all have a shared hive mind or some shit. You're taking the individual completely out of this with this type of training. And what you're doing is exactly what you said doesn't work. You're trying to fight racism with racism.
Yeah.
And well, I don't want to hear from anybody reverse racism. There's no such thing. It's just racism. You don't like other races because you feel you're inherently superior. By the way, I know a lot of black people feel that way about pretty much everybody because they're an individual asshole, not because they're black. See the difference there? I'm not saying this is all black people, but they are saying this is all white people. Somebody come up with this bullshit to get an extra check for teaching some old horse shit is what it is. And these companies are so fucking terrified of losing that future fucking dollar, because Chris, you absolutely nailed it in the group chat. We've aged out. They're not chasing our dollar anymore.
Well, yeah,
they're chasing the young
changed.
people's dollars.
Yeah.
And that's what they've always done. And that's the way the world is. I'm not upset about that. But at the same time, you're laying the foundation for your own fucking destruction. You understand this, right? This is going to divide us more.
This doesn't appear, at least this the slides from this presentation that were released don't appear to be like a marketing plan or anything. This is interpersonal relationships, talking to people outside the company, how to conduct yourself, which
it's probably
all
an
goes
HR
back
class
to covering
has to take.
which all goes back to the company covering their ass when it comes to lawsuits with this type of insensitivity. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that I doubt that anybody higher up knew or cared what was in there. All they know is that we have to have some sort of program that covers our ass so that if somebody says that we're racially insensitive, somebody at our company, we can go, no, they went through the training.
Hey, 18 to 24-year-olds, I know you're listening. It's not as many of you as, the older people, but hear my voice, all right? Their market research is telling you want to hear this shit. The companies don't care, all right? Their market research is telling them that 18 to 24-year-olds want to hear this shit so that you will spend your money on their product. All right? All they care about is making money. They don't give a fuck. They're just telling you what you want to hear. And they're going to tell the next group of 18 to 24-year-olds what they want to hear. That's how it works.
Absolutely.
Well, right, and which is why programs like this could never really be successful on any level, because they're not focused on actually fighting racism on a level that you need to. You have to fight racism on a personal level, right? Yeah. Racism is just letting some of your gut feelings take over when you should be a more intelligent BC past some of these, I don't want to call them instincts. I don't want to say, because I don't feel like that's the right word, but just to maybe push past, to be intelligent enough to push back past how a person looks and judge them a little bit deeper, right? That's how you ultimately overcome racism. You don't do it on an institutional level.
Yeah. Hey, guess what?
You don't do it through the government. You don't do it through companies. You don't do it through lawyers or HR people telling you that you need to change your behavior. So this could not and will not ever be effective in fighting racism.
Coke isn't here to solve the world's problems. Coke is here to sell you Coca-Cola.
Well, I mean, the road to hell, paved with good intentions. Doesn't matter if you're trying to do something good with this shit. You're inadvertently creating a more hostile environment where people are fucking now side-eyeing each other because, oh my God, am I not? I mean, there are people out there, thank God not many, but there are, and they're in positions of power in academia, which is scary, that are insisting shit like 2 + 2 = 4, racist. Acronyms, racist. And you're like, why are we listening to these people? They offer no solutions. This is not a solution. This is stirring the shit pot and not having to lick the spoon. And these people don't care because the person that come up with this shit and got a paycheck for coming up with it is sitting in a gated community with private security and don't worry about the fallout from this bullshit. Because who is seeing this most likely? A bunch of CEOs who don't give a shit, put it on in the background so they can say, yeah, I took it, and go on about their fucking day, and a bunch of fucking wage slaves. And who is it going to rile up? Not the CEOs, because their checks are going to get cashed no matter what. This is the type of shit that pits poor people against poor people and keeps them busy so the rich people can keep doing their fucking dirt. And it's not that hard to figure out. It's really not. This is not nothing new. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is how people in power have held on to power since the first fucking Cro-Magnon man rose up and said, hey, I got this. Everybody follow me. This is nothing new. But the problem is they think it is. They think they're going to solve the world's problems. This is not solving the world's problems. This is creating more issues.
You're talking about Coke as they? Because Coke doesn't give a shit about any of this. No, I'm talking
about the people that fucking... No, Coke is a useful idiot to these people. The people that wrote this shit, pimped this shit out to companies.
Okay, but you're assigning the authorship of a PowerPoint to a group of people.
I'm going to say it one more time. The people who wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
He's talking about the social forces that are at work here that are causing things like this to be written.
Coke's a useful idiot. They're just there just to be... These people are just using Coke to get their bullshit out.
Useful idiot. Look, if they wanted to get this out, it wouldn't have been an internal program in Coke. They would have advertised this. This is... Coke
not to
is
get
not
it out
being
to the
useful,
public, to get it out to put this shit on people in HR training. Come on, man. You know what I'm talking about.
No, Coke's only goal, again, is to just cover their own ass. They're not saying that Coke doesn't have an agenda on racism or race at all. They look at issues and they go, what's in the news? Okay, people are still talking a lot about race. How does that affect us? Well, it affects two things: our conduct and our public-facing message. So how can we shape that to be more in line to both gain more customers and stop losing money on what we consider frivolous lawsuits? That's how Coke is looking at racism.
Yeah, exactly. And the people who wrote this shit are looking at it like it's a religious crusade, and they're using Coke to get their message out to fucking people and stir the shit pot. What is so hard to understand about that?
Because I don't even know that it's more than one person that wrote this. I don't know who you're assigning the authorship to.
It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter who shot Kennedy or that Kennedy was dead. The who, what, where, and when is dressing to keep you fucking distracted from the fact that they killed a fucking president.
Don't they both matter equally?
To logical people, yes.
Okay, how about this? Who's responsible for the COVID virus? They're never going to pay. You can't.
All I'm saying is you're making a leap. And I'm not going with you on that leap because I don't understand how you get from. I'm not looking for consensus,
baby. I'm not in the mood. I don't care.
Okay.
Good. You stated your opinion. Aaron, you are the doubting Thomas of this podcast. Whenever it comes to anything bullshit coming from the left, we know this. Okay. You always. Oh, of course Hillary's going to win. Go back and listen to people want to be part of history. Trump will never win. Like, dude, you always fucking blue sky it when it comes to fucking the shit that you agree with more than you disagree with. And that's not just...
I don't see where it is. Dude, that is a baseless accusation. It really doesn't apply to what we're talking about at all. I'm agreeing with you, but you're making this leap as to, like, this person represents a greater organization.
Oh, you mean, like, BLM? Self-proclaimed fucking trained Marxist? And want to dissolve the nuclear family, blah, 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 all that bullshit that they had for 5 years on their website till somebody fucking took a screenshot and started going, have you actually read what these fucking assholes are talking about? This is bullshit. Yeah. Are you telling me you think that fucking there's not groups of people that are fucking moving and making moves to snatch power? That's what this is. That's what the last year has been about. Not Corona, everything else that's went on. That's what this whole movement is about.
You're taking two true things and tying them together with something with zero facts. That's what I'm saying. You're correct.
Oh, like Trump in Russia?
Both sides.
Right? I mean, he's not convicted. Well, then fuck it. Let's talk about fucking that for another hour and a half for the next 4 years. Like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, this ain't nothing new either. This is some shit that you've done the last couple shows.
I don't understand exactly what I'm doing then.
Then that makes fucking two of us, man. Because I asked you last show when you were sitting there arguing with me, and I said, what is your position? And you explained it, and I said, then we agree. What are we arguing about? And then you kept arguing.
Well, look, I've tried to highlight the areas where we do agree, which is most of this. My problem is that when we are in agreement and then you go and take a left turn that I don't agree with, I don't want to have my agreement go on that left turn, right?
I don't care.
And the left turn,
if you agree with me or not, it doesn't matter.
Okay, I thought we were all here to state our opinion.
Well, if that's what you call this, then yes, state your opinion. And apparently, I'm right and I'm wrong. Well, okay, cool.
Look,
great, wonderful.
No, my opinion was that you're kind of making a connection that I don't see. I see the map that you're laying out, the societal movement for using racism as a means for gaining power, 100% with you on that. The motivations behind Coke, not really in agreement with you on that, because I think that you're trying to tie Coke to this movement. And I don't believe that Coke wants to be tied to this movement. I believe Coke wants to piggyback on this movement for as long as it takes them to make money off of it. Idea that this person, this internal HR agent at Coke is a BLM agent that has,
okay, well,
hold on. Worm its way into.
If that is how you took it,
well, that's what you were laying out for me.
No, What part of useful idiots means that one of them's a fucking deep cover agent, Aaron? Tell me that. Don't fucking put words in my mouth, motherfucker.
Well, useful. I didn't put any words in your mouth. I wasn't trying to quote you.
I didn't fucking say that. I said Coke are useful idiots. Now you're fucking trying to paint me like I said, oh, one of them's a deep cover agent for BLM. I never fucking said that. I said BLM is using HR departments and other bullshit to weasel their way into fucking companies who are scared to fucking death of losing a goddamn penny.
What are you like? How do they do it then?
How'd they do it?
If the HR person isn't a BLM agent, then how do they do it?
Because just like you said, Aaron, they're covering their fucking ass and they don't fucking review the goddamn shit they have that's going on. Obviously,
right.
No one fucking come out and immediately said, "Whoa, we don't support that shit." And it's like, well, obviously someone was asleep at the switch because someone in Coke either was supposed to review this and didn't, or did and said it was okay. Either way, someone didn't do their fucking due diligence. Now, is that person is an agent? I don't know. Probably not. They're probably just fucking lazy and stupid. That's usually the case. Honestly, that's why they're useful idiots. Just like fucking the Democrats used everything going on this last summer, all the peaceful protesting, and that Bill Maher just had it on a couple weeks ago where he's, okay, so now Antifa's running around smashing out Starbucks windows because, of course, that's going to fucking bring about change, and writing fuck Biden on stuff. Guys, it's time to stop. And it's like, no, don't you understand? These people aren't your allies. You hate the same person doesn't make you a person your ally. These people don't care. These people are fucking, their own words, anarchist communist.
Yeah, they just hate institutional power.
Period. And if you are seriously sitting here saying that you don't see any of this, brother, I wish I had the fucking blinders that you have, because it'd be a lot easier going through life.
I don't know. Look, I asked for what is your evidence for drawing this one conclusion, and you try and blow up everything that we've been talking about, everything that we've been agreeing on.
Because all the fucking pieces matter, Aaron. How do you put a puzzle together with just the four-corner pieces? And that's what the fuck you're wanting to do.
I'm not
four-corner pieces.
At what point did I say that what you're saying didn't matter? That it wasn't what we're talking about?
Hey, maybe we just move on to a different subject.
That's possible.
I personally think if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's probably a move from the legal department.
Yes. How many times have I said that?
Yeah. And I've agreed with you every time, Aaron. The problem, look, there's a blockage between you and I. And this ain't nothing new. This has been going on since I've been on this show. I explain something, you pull I don't understand. What are you talking about? And then go, well, you talked about blah, blah, blah. If you don't understand what I'm saying, then let's just fucking move on. Okay? Because I'm agreeing with you. Coke is covering their ass because they're fucking terrified because everybody's got a fucking target painted on them by these fucking agitators who stir the fucking shit pot. And so, yes, they're covering their ass. Hey, we're going to have a new fucking inclusivity fucking meeting, whatever the fuck. Okay? And once again, is Coke... Coke probably cares about one color, green. That's probably it. Okay? The people sitting at the top, they don't care, but they're above all this. They look down from their ivory tower on us fucking unwashed plebeians and go, oh, yeah, thank God I'm not down there. They don't care.
Rich, I think the key of where we're disagreeing is who's using who. Now, BLM may be trying to use Coke and other brands to further their movement. I wouldn't doubt that they are trying to do that. But I don't know of any proof of that. Now, to say that Coke is a useful idiot means that it doesn't have its own motivations, and they do. I see this more as Coke using BLM for their own personal gain and protecting them from anyone that would come after them on Twitter for any of this shit.
Coke is doing something called...
We're allies.
Coke is doing something called getting out ahead of it.
It's not just that I don't see the link. It's that I see the relationship. While I see the existence of both groups that we're describing, the way that you see it, I see the relationship as reversed, where BLM might try and use Coke. They would want to use Coke and other brands to push their movement forward. Absolutely. I don't see any evidence of Coke letting them do that or having a public message that says that they are allies with BLM. What they do instead is try and take on the zeitgeist of racism and just make sure that they're aligned on the right side. Because if you align yourself with individual groups as a business and something happens in that group, then you're liable. They find out that BLM is full of, rapists or whatever. I'm not making any accusations. I'm just trying, I guess that was a bad example. But, Coke would say, we have to distance ourselves from them now. That's not how Coke and big companies play it.
And they also have a tricky line to walk too, because there's definitely probably big political differences between the people in the bottling plants and the people in the corporate offices.
Well, then I hope we can at least agree on this then. It's a danger. This isn't necessarily, I'm applying it to the Coke and their HR situation, but it's a dangerous game when you flirt with people who feel they got nothing to lose and are looking to tear down a system and you're trying to use them. Okay, even if Coke is using BLM, which, yeah, I agree with that. They're both, first of all, I don't know what's BLM. Whoever the fuck wrote this shit, whether that's one person, a group of people, a think tank, it doesn't matter. We know where it came from. It came from the academia and the one-sided fucking completely nuts bullshit they teach you in most colleges. We know where it came from.
Absolutely.
Okay. But they're using each other. But how many fucking warnings have to go unheard of, call these people out on this shit? Because if you let them slide on it and you give them an inch of rope, they want to be a cowboy. And you can't have this shit. I mean, it keeps happening.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word: crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
I mean, right now, there's what is the Chris? You always bring it up, the House resolution about social media.
Oh, 203?
230 for some.
230, yeah.
Is it 230? Okay. The government's stepping in. 5 years ago, if you said, "Oh yeah, social media will have so much control," the government will have to step in because they're going to start fucking, deciding who can and can't be on their platform. People laughed at you, but people saw this shit coming. We talked about it when Alex Jones and Farrakhan got banned from Twitter and Facebook. I was like, everybody's cheering and clapping now. The problem is eventually somebody's going to get banned that you don't want banned, and you don't feel it was right.
Well, when you run out of people from the other side, you're going to turn it on your side.
Well, that's liberals' problem anyways. If they don't have a fucking, not liberals, so-called progressives' problems anyways. If they don't have an enemy, they'll invent one out of their own ranks. These bullshit purity tests.
That's the side of 230 that the social media Twitter and Facebook are pushing for, is to have the government step in because they don't want to be responsible for this. And this will then become a First Amendment issue because it will be the government deciding who gets to say what on what platforms if this passes.
That's a dangerous fucking playground to play on, is what I'm saying.
We've had no problem with them doing it for TV and radio.
If you remember some of those discussions we had in pertinence class, I did. I brought it up. I was like, wait a minute, we own the airwaves? Why the fuck are they telling us what we can put on our airwaves?
Personally, I mean, as a society.
Oh, well, yeah.
We let the FCC come in and do its thing and have kind of just let it be its own thing. Well, that's ultimately what I think is going to happen. I think probably in 50 to 75 years, there will be 50.
more.
We won't even know what media looks like at that point.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 10.
I'm not talking media. I'm talking, look, what do you call it? Inclusivity and broadening the, darkening the place up at the top of the fucking ivory tower. I don't know what the fuck you call it. I don't know. I've heard, but more people who have traditionally, historically, been boxed out are going to work their way up to the top. Why? Because most people don't really give a fuck what color you are as long as you fucking do what you say you're going to do. As long as you do your job and you're a decent human being, most people don't give a fuck. They really don't. So, inclusivity and everything is going to happen. This is a push for something different. This is a push for, we want power, and it's like, what power do you think people have? And here's the problem. The people that are fighting for power and going, we want power, think that they're going to take it from literally us three. And I'm sitting here going, what power do we have? What, a podcast? You want to be on it? Come on.
Well, they also
send
think
a message.
too, they're not going to be humans and do things that humans do once they get in positions of power. A lot of the shitty moves people make when they get in positions of power have nothing to do with their race and everything to do with, a lot of people just don't know what to do with power when they get it and do stupid shit. They're going to find it not going to matter the color of your skin. Oh, we kind of have our own local example of that, Kwame. I mean, it's...
We got the... Nothing really changes. Just the way it's reported is what changes. Look at the situation at the border of Texas and Mexico. It was illegal immigrants detainment camp when Obama was in. It was kids in cages when Trump was in. And now it's migrant workers work camp. And they're still in fucking cages. It doesn't change. And by the way, we lock our own fucking citizens up in cages. You think we're going to if we're going to do that to our own kids, American children, you think we ain't going to do it to your kids? You come over here illegally? I mean, that's what America is. That's the shit we need to fight. But no one's talking about that because why? Because they haven't read a mean tweet from the bad orange man for fucking a couple of weeks. Who gives a shit? Nothing really changed. The set dressing did, but what's going on behind the scenes? It's still the same shit. And if you fucking think I sat on this fucking show for 4 fucking years and called Trump on every fucking thing that we did, and I'm going to let everybody else skate in politics? Get the fuck out of here.
All we did was change the hood ornament.
Exactly. That's it. I mean, who'd we just bomb? Syria.
Right.
Why?
Greater behavior of the country is not going to change that quickly. And I mean, you could point to small examples of change. I mean, looks like we're going to get another stimulus bill that we most likely wouldn't have gotten if we got another Republican president.
We would have gotten another one, just the checks would probably be smaller. I don't think we'd...
You think they weren't really pushing for more money out to the citizens?
I think I truly think the only reason that Trump said $2,000 because he saw the writing on the wall and he knew the GOP wasn't going to back him in this whole, stop the steal horse shit. And so it was a fuck you on the way out the door. I truly believe that. Because once he brought it up and the Democrats supported it, the Republicans were left with standing there with their dick in their hand going, oh boy, how do we say no to this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
because we always have to be better than Trump. So
yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like he knew what he was doing. That was a big fuck you to the Lincoln Project GOP.
Dude, he suicide bombed it. He suicide bombed it on his way out. He pulled the vest on his way out the door.
Yeah, that shit looked like a Pakistani disco.
Trump was the only Republican that was talking about giving out any sort of money. And I don't know, maybe they would have eventually compromised some smaller number, but I'm thinking it would have just disappeared into ether like all of his pre-2016 promises that never came true.
I just know it's going to be a third check my wife isn't going to get. She still hasn't gotten the first two. So
damn.
Yeah.
I thought, okay.
I'm going on 3 months of waiting to get my unemployment claim reopened.
Okay, now
I'm loving the government in this house.
Now that, good luck and patience is the only thing.
Good news, I have a phone appointment next Friday.
But the whole not getting the stimulus check, the first stimulus check was across the board for everybody.
Nope, she didn't.
What is their reasoning?
She hasn't gotten it yet. And every time she calls to find out, they route her back to the website that tells her to call. It's like when I called Michigan Unemployment. You sit on the phone for hold and go through their maze for 10 minutes, and then they just tell you to go online and hang up on you.
Yeah, well.
Oh, you want to hear about how efficient the IRS is? So they have a website that you can now. So I owe them a little bit of money, and I was going to set it up on a payment plan, and they want all this information for you to verify your identity. And they're asking for like bank account numbers. And I'm like throwing everything I can at them. And they're saying, we can't verify by that. So they give you like a couple tries and they lock your account out for 24 hours. And you can come back and try a couple more account numbers the next day. Every time that they do that, the IRS sends me a letter in the mail. It says, you access your account online.
No, I get, that happens with Michigan Unemployment for every time I choose Go Green. You send me a letter to tell me you have selected Go Green.
Go Green, yes.
Do you not understand this? You should not have sent me this letter.
You're not getting this. You're
Email
not getting the concept of this paperless office thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me ask a question, Aaron, because this is interesting to me. Are they asking for like routing numbers to set up automatic payments? And
no, they're just verifying identity. So they have, they have information on file of your account numbers for credit cards, for auto loans, for student loans, all that. So they're looking for like the last 8 digits of one of those account numbers. They give you many options, but if you only have 2 tries, and if you crap out twice, then they lock your account.
It's like that guy with the. Did you hear about the guy, the Bitcoin owner, who's got like $250 million in Bitcoin?
Oh my God, he's on his last guess, isn't he? Or 2? I think he has 2 left.
Yeah, and you get 10 guesses. They don't save the password, and they don't fucking give you any hints. And if 10 wrong guesses means that the drive gets wiped. That means does that mean that Bitcoin goes back into the Bitcoin ether?
I think it just goes away.
I mean, I'm still.
But you know what's funny
about how Bitcoin works anyway. So
what's funny is people are using that as an example of why you can't trust digital currency, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like,
that's
all the money
error
that has been lost all over the world, all the physical money, all the lost gold, all the shit that was stashed in mat and burned in a fucking dumpster fire. Like, it's okay, this shit is going to happen. People are going to lose money.
All that money Kwame stashed around Detroit.
I've actually had a bank account double charge me for something. I called my bank and they're like, no, they said you hit the button twice. I'm like, I didn't. And they're like, yeah, we don't tell you. Oh, well. And it's like, okay, I never physically had that money. How is Bitcoin different? You know what I'm saying? Like the money that's in the bank, you don't physically have. You don't physically have money on hand. How is Bitcoin different? I don't understand.
What does it mean to physically have money? I mean, that's only a physical representation of the concept of money.
In a bank, your money is allegedly in one place. With cryptocurrency, your money is distributed over the internet.
Wait. Your money is not in one place at a bank.
Well,
your money's all over the place.
No, I'm trying to explain to him the concept, though. Like, in theory, your money is in one spot with a bank.
But in practice, they work the same. That's what I'm saying.
Crypto, your money is in hard drives throughout the world.
The difference between physical bills and cryptocurrency is just conceptual. They're both just different facets of the same idea.
I understand. I'm just trying to explain the concept to Rich.
No, I got it. I understand. I agree with Aaron. I think anybody who's like, well, this is what happens with digital currency. It's like,
I mean, look,
it can happen. It can happen with Xbox though, where you can't get into your account, and you could have thousands of dollars worth of digital games.
At one point, the safe was invented, right? A secure place that nobody could get into unless you had the combination, and then those were widespread enough that a locksmith was an actual job that somebody could have of legally breaking into these things when people forget their combinations. So when cryptocurrency, if it does become the standard currency, there'll be a locksmith that you can call when you forget your password. There'll be a need for it, and people will supply that need.
Well, I don't know if you guys have, Aaron, I'm pretty sure you haven't heard about this unless it was just through the regular news, but Chris, you might have heard of it. The NBA Top program. Have you heard about this?
What?
They're selling digital
gender reassignment surgery for
for WNBA players. No. Or you would, I guess you would have to go to the WNBA if you transition, right? I don't know. Whatever. We'll let Biden figure that out. No, it's what they're doing is instead of selling, it's digital memorabilia. So literally, like, take a moment from the NBA. Let's say Tayshaun Prince's block on Reggie Miller from 2004 in the finals or the conference finals. Okay, they'll start a bidding online for that clip. Whoever wins the bidding now owns that clip.
Oh,
and
shit!
And turn around and resell the clip. So the problem is you never physically own anything. They're trying to do digital collectibles.
So they're selling the rights to their own footage.
Yes. And it's like, they were talking about it, and it's like, you buy a clip for, let's say, $50, right? You win the lottery. You win the betting. Well, you can turn around, like, because Mike Valeni, one of the local sports guys around here on the radio, he looked into it. He's like, I had a buddy buy a clip for $50. A week later, sold it for $5,000.
Yeah, I would immediately start with all my local sports stations. I'd be like, "Hey, ESPN, you want to use this clip? It's going to cost you."
And it's like it's kind of the same. Like, we're moving into, because we talked about this before. Like, you don't really own digital media, and really, if you have a game or something, you have to have an always online connection. You really don't own the game, because you go offline, they won't let you play the game.
Right, but just like cryptocurrency and physical currency, the difference is conceptual. I own the complete works of Kurt Vonnegut just about. That doesn't mean I have the rights to republish anything that's in those books. I just own the physical books. I just own one copy of one of the books.
And I think that's the difference. I think they're trying to make it so it's like that, not what you said. You can't sell it to ESPN. Well, own it.
But what you're talking about owning is the rights to the media.
No, I'm not saying I'd sell it to ESPN. Like, I lease it. Like, you can use this with my permission, and every time you play this, you pay me money.
I think.
No.
I don't know what the contract looks like, but I think that's exactly what the concept is that you would be leasing it, because you would have ownership of the rights to distribute that footage, right? And then and then you could make money on it. Just like if I went to a company and said, "Hey, I want to make a comic book about your character," they would sign over the rights. I could use those rights to make another work of art with that character and present that for sale, or even sell it to another publisher and have them make that book.
Ooh, could you lease it back to the NBA? Like, hey,
I think you could if you were. I mean, it depends on what you're signing. The contract that the NBA holds all original rights to do whatever they want, and they're just auxiliary for these clips that would be sold.
Well, apparently the way they explain it, which I don't think is if this is the way they explain, this is all secondhand, this is hearsay. I haven't been on their website and done a deep dive, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But the way that Mike Valeni said it was explained to him was that he goes, well, what do I physically own? Or not physically own. What do I own besides I can hit play on my computer or phone and watch this clip at any time I want? And they're like, well, technically nothing. He's like, so I'm not buying a Jordan rookie card. I'm buying a picture of a Jordan rookie card, but I still don't own the card. And they're like, yes, which is where I'm lost. I'm like, well, then why are you paying for the clip? Unless it's just to transfer ownership to another fan who values the clip more than you and make money off of it.
Well, it's a way to monetize your media, another way to monetize it. And, in a way that might get people in on a speculator market for which one of these rookies in 5 years is going to get a big deal, and I'm going to sell this clip and quadruple. I don't know. I'd hope you'd more than quadruple your money. But, and speculator markets are based on scarcity. And if their scarcity is built in at we are going to sell the rights for this clip one time per person,
1-on-1.
Well, then that's some goddamn scarcity then. That's Fleer makes one set of cards, right? And I have that one card that they made, and you have to come to me if you want it. So now when that rookie starts blowing up in a few years and news organizations want to report on back when they were playing in college ball, they can go to, who has the clip for this person? Oh, it's this individual. Okay, here's 10 grand. We want to use that in perpetuity for the next season.
Well, I do think that whether we like it or whether anyone likes it or not, this is the brave new world we're rushing headlong into.
I think absolutely.
I mean, you now have PlayStation, Nintendo, Microsoft, the big three of consoles, and computer gaming's been doing this for a decade or more now, and Steam's been around forever. But it's just they don't even have hard drive, or not hard drive. They don't have disk drives. You can buy a console and just load it full of digital games, and that is what everybody, except for the resale market for games, is wanting to move towards.
Right, but in that case, you are only purchasing the rights to play that game.
Exactly.
Right? You have no rights to resell your license to play that.
And that's why they've implemented. I picked up a physical copy of the new Madden because I wanted to own it because, well, my team's the best team in the game. So I'm petty like that. But
they said, "Okay, boomer," when they sold it to you.
Yeah, I know, right? And I got it used because I was like, "Fuck EA,
Jesus
they're not
Christ.
getting any of my money." Yeah, fuck them. They're not getting any of my money.
They ask you for an ARP card while they were at it, or?
Yeah, and I got 50 cents off my coffee at McDonald's afterwards. But I bought it, and that's when I said I found out that their gaming companies are now going, well, if you're not, like, I've had a hiccup in my internet connection. I'm playing the game, middle of the game, it takes me out. I go right back to the front end of the game, and it says, if you try to do anything in this game but reconnect to the internet and pick up where you left off, all your progress is lost. And that did not used to be that way. And I'm not talking playing online against somebody.
That's a hostage situation. It's like,
wait a minute.
I'm talking, this is a single-player game.
What else do?
If you don't have an internet connection, you can't play the game.
Oh, I see that. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Because
it's doing the DRM constantly, apparently.
I got you. I misunderstood.
So even though I own a physical copy, I can't. If I, let's say there's a horrible nuclear war and I'm the only one that survives, and I somehow have access to electricity and an Xbox, but there's no internet, I could put it in there, but I can't play it. It won't let me do anything. So they've even figured out how to get around, basically they're making physical media less and less attractive to the customer because the resale market on video games is ridiculous. I mean, GameStop, Disc Replay, mom and pop shops, that's their bread and butter, is to buy a game that someone just spent $60 on 3 weeks ago for $20, turn around and sell it for $50, used, whatever the fuck. And
so the math it's not just about we can make $60 off of this game versus, well, after we print and ship all this, we'll make $50, right? It's now that when they made $50 off that physical copy, they're also looking at all the future sales that might change hand 3 times. So now it's $150 that we lost out on versus we could be selling $60 copies to each one of those. So I guess, that's not. So the math would work out, then they'd be still $30 in favor. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean,
but you get the point I'm trying to make. It's not just about, when they sell a physical copy, that physical copy could represent 3 or 4 players. If they got all those 3 or 4 players to buy their own digital copy, then that's, $240 versus selling one physical copy.
Yes. Remember putting out an album, at least towards the end, when iTunes and all that became a part of it?
Right.
Pretty much when they gave you the breakdown, you wanted to sell the digital copy because you pretty much got to keep all the money. Whereas if you sold the disc, you gave up, you lost so much in packaging, and then there was a VIG to the company. Yeah, I mean, it's...
Yeah, last band I was in, the only physical CDs we sold.
Yeah.
We burned them, we labeled them, we packaged them, we sold them ourselves. Digital, we would farm out, basically.
I think I remember, of the $10 or something, if we sold the digital, we got to keep 7 versus if we sold the CD, we got to keep 3 or 4. Wow. It's we want to sell the digital copy.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is where we're moving as far as collectibles. I guess, or not collectibles. As far as a lot of media,
right?
Because right now, the only people I know who go to like stores and buy Blu-rays are hardcore collectors. Like people, you walk in their house and a wall is nothing but a bookshelf full of movies.
Yeah,
like that's it. Everybody else I know, man. Everybody else I know. For $30 to $45, if you pick the right streaming services, you can almost cover all your needs. As far as non-live entertainment, like you can't watch live TV, but anything you want to watch, all The Sopranos, $12 a month, HBO Now.
Yeah,
you want to watch Amazon, Amazon Prime. Fucking half the country's got Amazon Prime already, right? I mean, shit, so you might as well fucking take a look at what's in there. I haven't even got near a deep enough dive on Amazon Prime. I'm still finding shit. I'm like, oh, fuck, bookmark for later.
Yeah.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Pretty much everyone's spending more time at home these days. Maybe that means catching up on your favorite podcasts or doing more cooking and baking. If your winter could use some spicing up, Stop & Shop has ideas that might surprise you, like adding crispy, savory baked kale to popcorn, or chocolate chip banana bread in the shape of bite-sized muffins, or super easy-to-make chicken soup. Visit stopandshop.com for inspiration and order for delivery right to your doorstep. Spice up your winter with Stop & Shop.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
I actually just did my earlier today. I did my budget for streaming media, and it's HBO, which normally is $15, but they've got a sale that you can grab on to right now. You can get it for like a year for $12 a month. So HBO, Amazon, and because of all the all the Marvel shit that's going to be coming out this year, those three are the standards. Everything else is in rotation. So it's those three and one other that I will get each month. Yep. Right now it's not Hulu. Right now it's actually Showtime. I finished watching Your Honor, which was a huge waste of time because it has bullshit ending.
Oh, good. And someone else thought it was horrible too.
Oh my God, what is with these shows? It's the pandemic.
We bailed halfway. We bailed at like episode 4. We were like, we hate everyone. We don't care.
Let me just tell you.
What's the name of the show?
You didn't bail on the show. The creators bailed on the show halfway through and forgot to finish it.
What's the name of the show?
Your Honor. It's the one. It's the Bryan Cranston starring show on Showtime.
Gotcha. Okay.
Showtime's had some really strong shows and some lately, but that's just not one of them. The Good Lord Bird is fantastic.
You bring up a very good point, Aaron. Is that I've noticed the media that's coming out that at least some of the production was affected by COVID.
Yeah,
you can see it in the final product.
Well,
that Stan miniseries, they literally tacked on an ending that did not exist. That only had 2 of the entire in the Stand. It has a cast of hundreds. I mean, if they'd done it right, but literally, it was James Marsden and the chick Odessa, whatever her name is, that plays Franny. Except for like the goodbye scene at the beginning of it, where they, even then it was still 5 actors, and it's like, bitch, we know why. It's COVID. You were trying to finish filming before they shut everything down, and it's affected the quality of the work. I mean, well, the quality of the work wasn't that great on the Stand, anyways. We covered that, but I'm with you, man. I'm seeing it. Like,
well, in Your Honor, there you can see directly because, like halfway through the series, so they go into this big court case, and all of a sudden there's nobody in the court, and then there's this. Like Cranston delivers this line about like it goes against everything I stand for, but this is such a sensitive case that we want to lock it down completely. And then the next episode, somebody's wearing a mask, and then the next episode they're like, well, because of our current situation, we can't have people. So they don't ever say anything about a pandemic or a virus or anything like that. But you see its direct effects in their filming, in their production.
Yeah,
and I believe that we see the direct effects in the writing of the show too, because they just didn't know. Like it starts off really weak. The middle part of this series is actually super strong. They take all these elements and they weave them together in this really tight story where everybody's kind of constrained by what they know about everybody else. And it's like this huge Mexican standoff, right? And you're like, and so they build this house of cards, and how are they going to do this? How are they going to, how is this not going to just completely collapse, or is it going to completely collapse? And then this goes all the way up, and I'm watching like the last 10 minutes of the last episode, and they still haven't resolved any of this shit. And I'm like, oh my God, they're not going to. And then one of the characters shows up at a party, takes a shot at another character for kind of unknown reasons. They didn't really lay out his motivation, but instead accidentally hits Cranston's son at the party, and Cranston's son dies, and he is cradling his dead son, and fade to black.
So that's a bit.
They don't even tell us what comes next.
Okay, so now
that's all that matters, though, right? If he dies, everything's gone. Everything's fixed.
Is this a recurring series, or is this a mini series?
We don't even know.
It's supposed to be a limited series. It's what they do with something where they're not sure if it's going to get picked up.
I think it became a limited series when they had to interrupt their production halfway through and said, well, we don't know if we're going to be able to come back. Because think about it. You're Showtime, right? You got Bryan Cranston to sign on for a show. This guy who could do pretty much fucking anything right now, right? He has his pick of Hollywood. And he goes to Showtime to make, let's say they want to sign him on for they're going to do a Ray Donovan type show. These things can run for 5-8 years. So he figures, hey, I got this nice cushy gig, keeps me regularly employed. I can even have time to do other things. But then a monkey wrench gets thrown into that. Well, we got to delay production, and we don't know. And if we do come back for a second season, it's not going to be starting for another year. If I was Cranston, I'd be like, I fucking wash my hands of the whole thing. Just make it a limited series, and I'm out. Do not count on me coming back for season 2.
That's how they ended it.
He has options.
I'm glad I didn't hang out to the end, because I would be pissed. You just wasted my time. That's how you ended it?
Yeah.
You just wasted 10 episodes of my time.
The death of the son solves absolutely nothing, because what they built up to was Cranston breaking the law in order to protect his son, and he's like just about to get caught for all the shady shit he's done. He's doing that to protect a mobster who has his own exposure, and his son is looking at going to jail. And there's all these things that they set up. Like I said, they set up a house of cards, and then they shoot the house. And then they shoot the house of cards with a gun, and then they fade to black. That's the story.
I am glad I bailed after episode 4. I would be so mad. I'm mad now. I didn't even see it. I'm just mad knowing how it ends.
I'm sorry. I think I had that rant about that show stored up into me, so I didn't mean to get off on a tangent about that. But
no, that's fine. Hey, I'm glad you got it out of the way, because I was going to say, saves me the rant of going over the end of The Stand, because, like I said, I was wrong. Yeah, it feels very much like, oh shit, all hell's broke loose. What are we going to do? Because, like I said, I don't think, besides there's a scene where, spoilers, if you haven't read a 40-year-old book or seen a fucking, whatever, but there's a scene where Flag rematerializes on an island. This is the end of the actual extended version of The Stand. It's the last chapter. He wakes up on an island. He finds a bunch of savages, and he's like, by the way, Flag being the bad guy of the story, he's like, cool, I can mold them into an army. And the circle starts again. That's essentially the whole point of the story. They kind of had that, but it looked CGI. When two real actors were standing next to each other, it was never more than maybe 5-6 actors total. That was at the beginning of the episode. And after that, I want to say tops I saw on screen at the same time, 3 actors. Like, they even added a scene where Flag appears to one of the survivors, and they have a one-on-one scene. And I was like, why is it oh, COVID. That's why. They were probably just like, we got to finish this, man. We've got 9 episodes, and we have 8 of them in the can. We got to get through this 9th one no matter what.
I mean, I'm sympathetic, Imagine how much their production costs skyrocketed.
Oh,
Your efficiency drops to a tenth of what it normally was, and all of your cost for housing all these people and all of that goes way up.
And
Testing, you've got to add health screeners. Yeah, like
they filmed with a union. They filmed with a union crew, which means we don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
We don't care. COVID, nuclear war, doesn't matter. Fucking, if we go over this, you're paying double. Yeah. Period. End of story. And that's just. It literally looked at one point. I was like, it looked like probably the two actors, the director, the grip and the lighting crew, and a guy with a handheld camera. Like the most bare bones crew you could get. Like there's no craft catering, nothing. It's just like, you hungry? I hope you brought a Snickers. You know what I'm saying? Like
stop at craft like service is stop at McDonald's on your way in.
Final episode looks Cloverleaf.
What'd you say? It looks like Cloverleaf.
Yeah. It's all like, oh, we found this camera. What's on it? Oh, it's the ending of the movie.
All right. Anyways, before we get too deep in it, I just want Aaron, if you don't take that exchange out earlier, please leave this in. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you out your name. Passions are, running high. My bad.
Fuck you. You don't get to embarrass me by apologizing to me. All right? Can we move on?
Way to accept an apology, asshole. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Jesus.
I'm just kidding, man. I love it.
Maybe we all are on the spectrum and we just don't know it.
It's possible.
I'm kind of wondering, man, if the spectrum's the normal range and people who aren't on it are the abnormal ones. I'm really starting to wonder that at times. Because social awkward, like what high functioning autistic sounds like a socially awkward person. Mm-hmm. What we would historically call a socially awkward person, at least.
Oh, there are times when I'm arguing with my wife where I'm like, have I forgotten how to talk to people? Is it just me?
Yeah, no, I think what we call the spectrum of what we think of as the spectrum of disorder, I think is just going to expand into the spectrum of the difference in human brains. The fact that obviously there are autistic people who suffer greatly, who are non-communicative. That's a disorder that we want to tackle. But in a lot of ways, I think we're trying to tackle what we see as a disorder instead of just trying to adapt the way that we teach rather than expect everyone to learn the same.
Well, yeah. And then, you add in the chaos of social media and an online life you can completely live from your bedroom to someone who's socially awkward. And you get a lot of bad info flying around. You know what I'm saying? Like just because someone is on the spectrum doesn't mean that like they're just this bumbling, stuttering fucking mess of a human being when you get them in a crowd. But at the same time, It's like,
Well, think like we used to not even have a term for dyslexia, and then we made the term dyslexia, and dyslexia came to be commonly understood as can't learn, when that's not what it is at all. Processes information differently is what dyslexia ultimately means.
Absolutely.
And I don't even think that you could legitimately call it a disorder. Like, what if we all were dyslexic? Then we would be teaching this. We wouldn't be calling it a disorder.
Well, look at how just how broad of a range on this show we have in how our thought processes work. I think mostly in metaphors and analogies. Seems like you guys don't. And when I'm trying to explain something, I try to compare it to someone knows. There's something that someone knows and go, it's like this, it's like this. And I just thought that's how you explain things. Come to find out 43 years into this fucking trip around the sun, I'm like,
Some people just get thrown by that because they're too logically minded, right?
Yeah.
Well, think about if you had a dog. And it's like the joke in a sitcom, like, okay, just imagine you had a dog. What kind of dog? It doesn't matter what kind of dog, right?
Yeah.
Yes. They're the most, that's the one thing, high-functioning autistic people and the women in my family that raised me, the most literal people I've ever met in my entire life. You cannot use sarcasm.
Hypotheticals to them.
Yes. No. it does not work. It does not work. They're like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. Got
It's
it.
also ladies, though. Women are wired different.
What?
No,
No.
I don't know if anything that we're talking about has anything to do with sex.
no.
Well, I mean, hey, 5 years ago, there's no such thing as race and gender. It's all a social construct. Now it's all that matters. I don't know. It seems like anything to do with those things, we put the importance on it, not the world. You know what I'm saying? Like the world didn't put the importance on it.
No,
We put
men and women are wired different. It could just be part of like it's my wife always mocks me because my buddy will tell me something like earth shaking to her, and I'll be like, yeah, whatever, dude. And she'll be like, why didn't you ask this? Why didn't you ask this? Why didn't you ask this? I'm like, I don't fucking know, because we're golfing and we're talking about golf. Like there's a Bill Engvall routine where he explains a different. He's saying he's working out with his buddy, and he says we're getting a divorce. He's like, oh, that sucks, and they keep working out. And it goes home, and his wife has 1,001 questions, and he's like, none of this shit crossed my mind, so I didn't ask.
Who's cheating on who? Did someone cheat? Did someone
exactly.
beat the kids? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
He just said he's getting a divorce, and that sucks. That's all I said.
Yeah, did she leave him? Is he leaving her? What's going on? Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, that sucks. He's like, I thought, well, you're going to be single again. You better start working on your fucking chest.
See, that's where you got to tell your old lady, like, honey, we had more important things to talk about, like who was the hotter co-host on Singled Out, Carmen Electra or Jenny McCarthy. We didn't talk about the divorce.
My whole point to all that is like the women's brains are wired different and men's brains are wired different. Like that's how biology.
Chappelle's got the joke about men and women telling stories different, right? And he's like Reggie said some shit and that N-word hit him. Was the man's version of the story, and the woman's version was like, first of all, you have to understand my state of mind. Like,
yeah. Patrice O'Neill, he's like, I make my girl tell me the end of the story first. He's like, all right, I know, you want to try to tell a story? I got you. What happened? So and so got shot. All right, try to tell the story. Go ahead. Okay, my friend Aaron. You met Aaron at that one time. No, you don't remember? Okay, well, anyways. Well, Aaron is dating so-and-so, and blah, 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 and he's like, oh, you've already lost me. Just get to the point where someone gets shot. By the way, I don't know if you guys watched the Patrice O'Neill documentary that's on Comedy Central now.
I watched 2 hours of it. When they start talking about his...
2 hours? How long is it?
I think it's 3.
No. Dude, what the fuck were you watching? On Comedy Central, you watched 2 hours with commercials?
It was.
Or what the hell are you smoking? And can I have some?
Yeah, no shit.
They started at 8:00, and I fell asleep about 10 when they got to the part about him and his girl. Like when they
Oh, they must have stretched it out because it was only 130 minutes without commercials.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, they must have fucking packed it with commercials.
That's good because
that's
true. These docu-series are bullshit. Like stretching out your documentary into 8 and 10 hours. That's just,
dude. That's 3 hours with commercial.
That's called I don't know how to edit.
A half hour network TV with commercials is 22 minutes. So for sure, that's like that could have been a whole night of programming for Comedy Central, dude. 130 minutes.
Well, the thing I'll say is, if you don't know who Patrice O'Neill is, it's a good entry point. If you know Patrice O'Neill like I do. I mean, nothing's ever going to be, out of at least the hour and a half version I saw. If there's a 3-hour version out there, I'm going to have to see it. But the version I saw, you can't get a whole man's life. Yeah, you can't get the man's whole life in there. And on top of it, Comedy Central bought the right. Here's the story. His family was going to put this documentary out. They crowdfunded it. They got the money. Well, not his family, his fiance. They were never married before he died. But she was supposed to put it out. His surviving family, his mother and his sister got involved. Felt that, of course, because he's worth more now than he ever was alive. So now the vultures come out. And this is what we got. And I'm going to say this, like, they got one thing right, which is something that I expect is going to be said when I drop dead, which is, I know that death makes angels of us all, but Patrice was an asshole. He was a lovable asshole. but he was an asshole.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. I mean, that's the true shit. But then they had to insert the female comic who never knew him, never saw him live, never talked to the man, to come in and retcon the fact that he was a dirty, filthy misogynist. And you can't retcon that because he said, I'm a dirty, filthy misogynist.
Right.
He goes, you know why men are better than you? Because we can have fun doing nothing. That's why we're better than you. We can just hang out. That's why we're better than you. Not because instead, I feel like I'm superior simply because I'm a man. It's because of the shit you do. It makes you not want us, or what you do makes us not want to be around you. And I'm like, well, if that's misogyny, then I'm a misogynist, because isn't that the definition of don't want to be in a relationship? You're doing shit that makes me not want to be with you anymore. How is that misandrous, misogynist, whatever you want to call it? But they felt the need to put this comedian in there and retcon it, and it's like they cut out two people who were very instrumental in his life, which was Anthony Cumia and Louis C.K. And I'm like, okay, I get why, because Anthony Cumia's, he's just he's flat out said he's an asshole and a racist. Okay, you don't want him on. Louis C.K., right. Look, man, we're not talking about fucking Louis C.K. This isn't Louis C.K. getting up there talking about himself, pumping himself up, trying to excuse what he did. This is him talking about someone that he came up with in the same comic scene, like Bill Burr, Bobby Kelly, Rich Voss, Keith, oh shit. Of course I forget the black guy's name because I'm racist. But Keith Haynes,
that is unfortunate, but I can understand. I think if this was a decision that was made by the director or whoever was in charge of editing this project, I can understand why they would take him out, because, regardless of what you think about Louis C.K., when he appears in something, it's going to be all about him.
Yeah, it would make it not about Patrice O'Neal.
Yeah, it kind of takes the focus off of your main character of your story by putting somebody like that in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, it'd be nice that we could hear from him, because I'm sure he's got a lot of history that we would like to get on record.
Oh, one of the best. You can go on YouTube, search Opie and Anthony, Patrice O'Neal, Louis C.K. When Patrice O'Neal finds out Louis C.K. is Puerto Rican, it's one of the best episodes of Opie and Anthony I've ever heard. He's like, what? You Puerto Rican? Oh, shit, you a tropical Mexican. You've been trying to sneak in on us acting white.
Tropical Mexican. Jesus.
It's fucking...
Yeah, he's got the cover I got. Dad hooked up with a white chick.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, and real quick, just to wrap up on that, because I watched the version I saw. I watched the whole thing, and I gotta say that the most terrifying and sad thing I ever saw regarding Patrice O'Neal was his fiance talking about the night he had the stroke that ended up killing him a month later. She went to the kitchen. She came back in. He was sitting in his usual spot watching TV. When she left, she comes back in. She said something to him, and she goes, all that moved was his eyes, and tears were running down his face. He'd had a full on fucking stroke. He was paralyzed.
Oh God.
And I'm just like, that. Look, I know you two can't agree, but I don't live with you two. That happens to me, kill me. Don't call 911. Kill me. That's horror, being trapped in your body and not being able to do anything. My head is a mess at the best of times. Put me in that situation where that's all I have, kill me. And it wasn't even that it's Patrice O'Neal, who is like, I have very few true heroes in my life, and he's a hero, not because necessarily what he said, because he's always said, don't let fear make a liar of you. Say what you feel. And if someone doesn't like you, that's fine. That's not the end of the world. Move the fuck on and learn to embrace confrontation. And, and not violent confrontation, not,
right.
But like him and Anthony from the Opie and Anthony show were best friends. And Anthony is a flat out racist. And Patrice was like, this is why I love you, because you admit it. Most white motherfuckers, I start saying some race shit. They start, well, yes, I am evil. Sorry. Here you are coming the other way. You know what? I respect it because I know where you stand. And let's be honest, a lot of cases, sunlight's the best disinfectant. Because once you get to know someone that you hated because of some arbitrary reason, their color, their gender, who they are, are attracted to physically. Once you get to know that person on a personal level, it's harder to hate that person and as an extension, that group of people. You know what I'm saying? Like for the average person, there's always going to be hardcore dyed-in-the-wool racists. They're going to be like, oh, you're a good Negro, but these bad ones out here, whatever. You're not going to reach them.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
Well, hey, since we're talking about race and media a lot, this kind of leads to a story that popped up this week about another Superman movie that's in the works. Have you heard about this? Mm-hmm. Right, so this would be they've hired Ta-Nehisi Coates to write and J.J. Abrams to produce. They're possibly looking at some black leads for the Superman movie.
And what I thought when I heard that
Idris Elba
thing is the same. Got to be right. Got it. Just give him some Just for Men because he is starting to get a little gray at the temples, and that's
no way, dude. Zod. I want it.
You want him as the bad guy?
Fuck yeah!
You want Stringer Bell to be Zod is what you want.
Yes, I do.
No, that's no. You know what? I could see it. Fair enough. But this is what I thought. I had the same thought, morphed a little bit from what Bill Hicks said about the Catholic Church. Certain parts of the Catholic Church are going to start allowing female priests. He's like, oh, good. Then there's priests of both genders I don't give a fuck about. I just don't care about Superman. Make him black, make him alien. No. I mean, I'll talk about it. But, it's like, like it doesn't bother me. Now, I would say that
I don't have like a deep attachment to the character, certainly.
Yeah, Superman was always too Boy Scout, goody. Like everything came too easy for him.
My relationship with Superman ended when I turned like 13. Are you there, Rich?
What's up?
Like my relationship with Superman ended when I turned 13. Like, is that's kind of where I'm at. Like, he was cool when I was a little kid.
Aaron's seen my comic book collection. He's got it. It's still in his house.
It's in the basement right now.
I mean, it's seven long boxes. Any Superman comics in that, my dad bought. I never was into Superman. Even the movies, the Superman that I liked, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3. I don't think it was 4 because that was just a clusterfuck. It was when he lost his powers, that movie. And then the fact that Richard Pryor was in Superman 3 and they completely wasted him pissed me off. But I don't know if that was 2 or 3 that he lost his power. It was 2. It had to be 2 because he was with Lois. He gave us powers for Lois. That's the only Superman movie that I've ever really been into. Never watched comics or never read the comics, never watched the cartoons.
Yeah.
Never even bought toys. Now, I have been to his hometown in Missouri. There's an actual Smallville, Missouri, and if you go there, they have a huge statue of Superman up in the downtown, and you can go in. They have a museum of Superman. When I was on the road with my dad, us being comic guys, we had a layover that was 20 minutes away. We dropped the trailer, bobtailed over, 20 minutes away, and went to go check that shit out. That was cool. But Superman is a comic book character. He's God as a comic book character, basically.
This announcement didn't move the needle for me at all as a nerd because I'm not really a Superman fan. J.J. Abrams makes fine stuff usually, like
Lens Flare Abrams.
I'm not wed to. I'm not like I'm going to see anything he does, because some of it's crap and some of it's good, and I think it just depends on who he gets to work with ultimately. Like he seems to be a decent producer that doesn't fuck shit up. But Ta-Nehisi Coates, I've never read any of.
Didn't he?
Yeah, so I've never read any of Ta-Nehisi Coates's. He's done fiction and nonfiction. Is that right? I believe so. I haven't been the best reader recently. I'm trying to get back to that, reading both, fiction and nonfiction. And I plan on reading some. A lot of people praise his work, and he seems to be a very talented writer. Now, I have read his Black Panther and Captain America, and I haven't really enjoyed them all that much. They're rather dry comics.
That's what I was hearing from one of the guys on YouTube, who every once in a while his suggestion pops up. He's a comic book guy, and I watch his videos, and he's like, by the way, he's a black guy and he's a libertarian. Mm-hmm. Figure it out. I don't know. The only reason I say that is because it's germane to the.
Oh, he thinks
the
for
point
himself.
He. Okay, stop. Stop giving away the punchline. But no, he goes, look, I read his run on Black Panther. Mm-hmm. He's a serviceable placeholder until you get someone who comes in. I don't really feel that like he's this great writer. And he's like, on top of that, he goes, if you the mythos, the myth of Superman, maybe I was right, whatever. The myth of Superman has been played with so much in the last 30 years. He goes, why don't you just have, we have Supergirl, Superdog, Superboy. Why don't you just have another person who somehow managed to get off the planet and he's black? Then you can have, if you want to have a story that addresses social issues, have the black version of Superman meet the white version of Superman, and basically do the Star Trek thing. Take all the issues we're having in our world, put them on Krypton, and say, Krypton wasn't this great fucking culture that you fucking think it was. Like, they banished me from the planet. That's why I'm one of the only survivors. He goes, I just created something that you got a million offshoots to go with instead of just going, Superman's black now, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, I think the problem with Superman is that he just doesn't give you enough options for storytelling, because there's not as many facets to a character like Superman than there is Batman. And therefore, every story about Superman is going to deal with the same basic issues of power structures, of being an alien. Superman is an immigrant story, and he wears that on his chest. And it's kind of hard to not write a story about Superman that's not about that. Doesn't mean you can't write good and powerful stories, and this could very well be one of them. This could be it. It has the potential to be either the most boring Superman or the most interesting Superman. That's why I'm interested in this predominantly, because I'm kind of curious where you go with this. The idea of casting a black Superman is kind of, whatever to me. Like, let's see what you got. But does that mean that you cast a black person and then you just tell a Superman story and don't address it? Or does Superman being black inform the story?
Well, this definitely
I think
would
the
change.
latter would be more true, because how do you I don't know. Maybe Superman, if he is black, is raised in a different environment. Well, let's just say that we are just changing skin color.
Well, yeah.
So now we have a white middle class farmer, country American family raising a black child out in the sticks. Yeah, that's going to inform the story in major ways, right?
That way changes the origin story. Absolutely. Where he's supposed to have grown up, for sure, because he would definitely go through different shit than white Clark Kent.
Especially in Smallville,
so
Kansas.
It gives him a little bit more of that X-Men edge of, fighting to protect the people that hate us.
See, Superman, the problem with Superman to me has always been, like I said, he's a god figure. That's why the death of Superman in the early to mid 90s was such a big deal to people who didn't know comics, to people who had read Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was like Man of Steel. Crisis on Infinite Earths and Man of Steel, back to back between 85 and 86, pretty much retconned Superman. And they still were like, we're not selling as much as X-Men. Yeah, because you don't have as good of a character. I hate to break it to you. Yes, Superman's creators were first-generation immigrants. It was a metaphor for or an analogy to what they had went through, etc. You're absolutely right on that. That's not even up for debate. That's come from the creators' mouths.
Think about how Jews were raised in this country in general. Like,
and both of them
you are powerful and talented, but you can't go around flaunting that all the time because we're going to stir up these fucking Nazis again, right? We don't want too much of a spotlight on us, but you have to understand that you are the chosen people, but don't go around just saying that to everyone, right? Because people are going to hate you for it.
Actually,
that's part of the Superman story.
His first appearance in Action Comics was when Nazi Germany was in power, right? Late 30s?
It would have been somewhere between 38 and 41, I want to say.
Yeah. Nazi Germany, 38 is when I think Hitler, basically became the dictator.
Yes.
And or emperor, for lack of a better term. And 44 is when he was done. So, yeah, that's absolutely. And see, that's the thing that, like, people go, oh, it's a comic book. But these are people trying to tell stories, and they can't be heavy-handed back in the day. So they snuck it in through back channels. And they got, like, the X-Men being basically the story of, any race but white in the 60s. And definitely, I mean, I don't know if this was intended, but it definitely was the end result. A lot of people who didn't feel normal gravitated towards the X-Men at a young age, and then they were, later they realize they're gay, or they're, that they have gender dysphoria, or that, they're on the spectrum, whatever the fuck.
There's kind of two different X-Men, though, right? There's Lee Kirby X-Men that was an analogy for just kind of being an outsider. And then there's the Claremont and Byrne X-Men later on that were like, you were thinking too small on it. Yeah, we need to tell stories about outsiders, but not just about white people who feel different from other white people, right?
Yeah. If
you're going to think about like this is, some random mutation that happens to people all over the world, then why is it just these 5 white people in New York?
Exactly, yeah. And that was one of the things that I really liked about Byrne and Claremont's run. Well, Byrne is my favorite comic book artist ever. I know that's controversial in some circles, but whatever.
You can continue his X-Men writing. He's doing it,
right? Isn't it?
No, he's doing straight up non-licensed X-Men stories that he's writing and scripting for free, not colored. You can see all the pencils and everything online. You just Google it.
Yeah. You shared it. You shared it.
Okay, I did share that. Yeah.
But no. I thought he only did one issue because Marvel or ultimately Disney came out and was like, no, don't think so.
Nope. There's like a whole collection, and he's still continuing. He's got over a dozen issues.
Wow, I'm gonna have to check that. Like, I knew that. I thought it was just one issue he did as like a.
I thought too, and it was just like an oddity. Like, oh, this is cool, but it's an actual story that you can read and follow.
Well, then I'm definitely gonna have to check out. Yeah. But no, what they did with the X-Men was not. Well, first of all, the X-Men before Giant Size X-Men #1 for the uninitiated. The X-Men ran from the early 60s to the late 60s with original stories, and then Marvel started reprinting older stories.
Yep.
And then every once in a while throwing in a newer story.
Eventually, those reprints started selling really well, though.
Yeah. And, I mean, they did add some new characters because they had Havoc in there, and before that, because when they went to the island of Krakoa, the new X-Men that were assembled were sent there to rescue the old team. And the new X-Men, I mean, this must have been shocking in 1975 for the comic world, was an international version of the X-Men. You had a Russian, you had someone from,
German, African.
I was going to say African, but that's not a country, but still, she was the goddess of her country, right? Or her village, right?
Right, but they just did like the Marvel thing and just made up a country, right? I don't think she's from an actual...
Oh, okay.
Does she have an actual origin? That's why I say African.
I never knew. That's why I say, where's Storm from? Africa. That's a continent.
Yeah. Well, that's
motherfucker,
all
she got
around.
That's all around. The bitch can fly on the wind. Okay, you don't think she can cover a continent in a couple days? What the fuck? But I mean, it was a complete and then you had, Banshee from Scotland.
Yeah.
Wolverine, hardly anyone who does not read comics knows this, is Canadian. He's not American. Thunderbird, which is, I mean, it's 1975. Do what you will with the information. Yes, of course, the Native American fucking character is named Thunderbird, but can we move past that? You know what I'm saying? Still, they were trying to be inclusive in a time when nobody was asking for inclusion. No one was demanding it. It's not like it is now. It's not it could not be considered pandering. In fact, it could be considered kind of punk rock to throw that in the middle of the 70s comic scene, except for if you look at DC's Green Arrow and Green Lantern team ups. They had some like serious issues in there with like drug abuse and stuff like that in the early to mid 70s. It
speaks to the quality of the work because, like I was saying, those reprints started selling more, and there was a reason. There was a sales reason. There's always a sales reason for why they wanted to reboot it. So they went to, guys like Byrne and Claremont and Len Wein and said, what can we do to, let's make more X-Men comics. People want to see more X-Men comics. They want to see these characters. And they pretty much said, no, we're not going to give them anything they recognize. It's going to be absolutely completely different, really just a completely different concept. And people ate it up because it was good. It was actually better than what they had prior. Because my dad, he had a copy of that in his first collection. The one that I don't have a copy of Giant Size X-Men. My mother sold it while I was visiting him one summer. Shame.
I mean, the entire collection, she sold it. And he had Spider-Man 4, X-Men 3. She sold it in 1986, she sold it for $100. 3 long boxes. Yeah. So that guy, if he sold at the right time, well, with those comics are the golden age or the silver age. You can almost, you bring that in, please, what can we give you for this? Let's get it graded, and what can we give you for it? Yeah. But, I mean, so that guy probably put a couple kids through college or bought a fucking nice sports car. But, and I asked
it's all about that scarcity. Everyone's waiting still for those 90s comics to start creeping up. And
the problem
meanwhile, they're like, they made too many of them.
It sold 7 million copies. If half of them are lost, it still's worth nothing. Okay.
That guy was probably like, you want Hunter what?
Well, no, I asked my dad. I was like, what made you buy Giant Size X-Men #1? Because you'll understand what I'm talking about with this, Aaron. He bought it off the rack. He didn't go to a comic book store. It had the stamp of back in the 70s when they put them on the rack. There was different between direct distribution to a comic book store and you buy off, like at a grocery store. He goes, I literally saw it. I remembered the X-Men. I just picked it up on a whim and I fell in love with the characters. He's like, I had stopped reading the X-Men. He goes, that's what got me back into buying comics from when I was a kid, was Giant Size. I bought it on a whim. Right. And I was like, it didn't bother you, though, that it was not the team you knew? He goes, at first, but then the characters were so good I didn't care.
Exactly. You have all these interpersonal relationships going on. You have scenes of, Claremont was famous for opening with 4 or 5 pages of let's play softball.
Yep.
Not a big battle scene, but it was kind of brilliant because it was a way to get all these action shots in without actually having to put them in conflict so that they can actually have some dialogue that moves the story forward instead of believing that they're shouting all this stuff over the din of battle.
Yeah. I always find that amazing that, you watch or you read a comic book, and even though they're on the other side of a battlefield that's probably 3 football fields long, they can all hear each other. I'm like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just once I want to read a comic with a big battle scene and full dialogue balloon on one side and on the other side somebody going, what?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can't
speak up.
hear
the
you.
fuck?
Or, hey, can this wait?
Or better than that.
Can we put a pin in this one?
Better than that. We flew here to this battle in an SR-71. We don't have personal communicators?
Right.
Seriously? What's
you didn't bring
Professor X?
You didn't bring any of this up on the 3-hour flight to this location. You waited till right now to bring up the fact that guy might be an issue.
Remember when we sat there and didn't say a word for like a half an hour? That could have been a good time.
Movies do that all the time too. You see people like get off the plane, they're like, "So tell me about this mission that we're like." Well, what have you guys been doing?
It's the truth. It's not only movies. It's like I said. A couple weeks ago, I tried a tabletop role playing game online, and I was actually role playing, and they were like, "Oh, are you talking in character?" And I'm like, "Isn't that the point?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "So you're asking me what my sensors are picking up?" Yes, but we're not there yet. Did the sensors go beyond the front of the vehicle? Then tell me what's going on. like this is what you would do in real life. You don't just sit there in silence on the way to possibly go die. You fucking try to.
Your brain's going to be asking a lot of questions, and you're going to voice a lot of those. First of all, what the fuck am I dying for?
Yeah, exactly. By the way, real quick, I know we mentioned it real quick, but we bombed another country here, this last week. Yeah. I think we need, and I know this is going to come off like a joke, but I'm dead serious. I am not joking. We need to do what Frank Herbert wrote in the Dune series. Leaders of our country have problems with other leaders of other countries. I don't have a problem with the average person over in Syria. I don't have a problem with the average person in Afghanistan. And I highly doubt they're even fucking concerned about us. All right? You want to take out their leaders. Have a war, what they call in the Dune universe, war of assassins. Don't send the poor and fucking go die to do your fucking dirty work. You're so tough. You're such a leader. Just understand, they're going to send assassins to kill you, and you're going to send assassins to kill their leader, and leave us the fuck out of it.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? And then we could all sit back and do Spice.
And get prescient like a motherfucker and have blue eyes. Oh, that's cultural appropriation. You're black. You got blue eyes. Sorry. It's a side effect if you don't read Dune. Your eyes turn blue, even if you're black or Arabic. Which I don't think there's really race doesn't come up in Dune because they're worried about survival. So it's a little different, I guess. But no, seriously, I'm dead serious. Like it doesn't.
Yeah. Maybe that's a way to solve racism in America. Giant sandworms, right? Bigger problems.
You got to learn to walk without rhythm. All of a sudden, Fatboy Slim's fucking Weapon of Choice song comes back into the top 10 on fucking iTunes because we got to figure out how to walk without rhythm. Oh Christ! Yeah, no. It just an idea. Sorry, I threw it out there. Might be a little bit high. Edibles might be kicking in. Whatever. So, but the one thing I will say about the X-Men is that going back to that real quick, and maybe this is just me. Maybe I was conditioned to because of how I came up in the environment I came up in. That, like telling stories of outsiders, people who are on the fringes of society, people who are maybe marginalized, whatever term you want to use. Pop culture has always been a way to me to get that out to people who have no reference point to even start on from where, like to have empathy with another person. And like, I think comics back in the day versus we're going to have a black Superman. Okay. And I mean, like, what did you, okay. You have a black person now who's one of the most popular superheroes in the world. Cool. But did that change any hearts and minds? Did that make people think about their preconceived notions about the world and other people? No. And that's the difference between great art and just art or bad art. It just, like, to me, this is
guess. I don't know. I mean,
making Superman black is kind of with no explanation is kind of tokenism. It's like, why?
Well, let's not discredit Superman too much. I mean, I still think it's a powerful character, and I've read plenty of Superman stories. I'm usually following artists and writers more so than the character, but I'm not saying that you can't make a good story with that character anymore. I think that, it's interesting that we went into the X-Men with this, because what we have here is two examples of the immigrant story told in comics form. And whereas one is more metaphorical because you have an actual alien, and with a metaphors sometimes are more powerful because you can imprint that on anything that you want. So if you want to tell Superman's story from the perspective of, whatever you might identify with, or then you can do that. You can imprint his kind of this generic alien template over your story. Whereas the X-Men, you just bring in another character, right? The universe is essentially endless, and you can just say, okay, if we need somebody to represent someone from Israel, right? Well, here we either have that character or we can create another one. It's easy. So there's like direct representation on one side and metaphorical representation on the other side. And I think that it's not whether one is going to outlast the other. We've seen waxing and waning of both characters in popular culture. And right now, I think we're more we're primed for X-Men, I think. When the X-Men hit again, they're going to hit in a major way because we're going to see a lot of direct representation and not metaphorical representation. We are way more literal-minded about this right now, and we're going to attach more to those X-Men movies. They're going to keep making Superman movies, and they'll have limited effect. But the X-Men stuff, I predict, is going to be what people really attach to.
Well, that's basically what I was saying. I think the X-Men did a better job of sliding the medicine in with the sugar. You know what I'm saying? Like Superman is to me, and it's not that I dislike Superman. It's just like Superman to me is just he was always like, oh, the guy's got a gun. Oh no, what's Superman gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like
the story of Superman precludes talking about interpersonal immigrant experiences, right? So while the metaphor that Superman represents can be really powerful and applied to many different things and tell stories in different ways, ultimately you just got the one alien. And what you're then assuming is that the immigrant experience is the same for everyone, regardless of where they're coming from. What X-Men can explore is what happens when a German and a Jew come to live in the same place and how they get along, which, by the way, fantastically, if you're wondering. Kitty and Kurt, great. They were on Excalibur. They've been on the same team for like forever.
Oh, Kitty and Kurt.
Yeah.
Didn't they have their own limited series in the 80s?
I don't think so.
Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler? I swear to God, I dig through them books, maybe. I don't know. I swear to God, because the first
Curtis
episode
had very few miniseries, and
Nightcrawler had his own miniseries.
He did, yes.
And the first one, he's dressed up like a pirate on a ship.
That's where they got the swashbuckling theme.
That's okay. That's
what continued to endure. And Kitty Pryde, the only miniseries I remember being prominent in was Magic.
Yeah.
And there was the Wolverine one. She popped up as an ancillary character in a lot of the miniseries, but I don't remember Kitty Pryde ever getting in her own series back in the day.
It wasn't her own series. The X-Men versus Fantastic Four, the whole storyline was based around she had to phase through something.
Right, yeah.
She had to concentrate so hard that she was stuck in the phase mode, and Mr. Fantastic was trying to save her, and then he couldn't, and the X-Men thought he harmed her, and comic book shit, folks. But anyways, and I mean, here's the thing: like, this is just a personal preference. Mm-hmm. There's no right or wrong way to do, a story that you're inventing off the top of your head.
Yeah,
I will just say, I think Marvel, for the most part, seems to be getting it right as far as, okay, we want to include some people who say they're underrepresented in comic books. So Iron Man, Tony Stark retired as Iron Man. Now Ironheart comes in. Create a new character. Tell a new story. Don't just slap literally a coat of fucking paint on something and go, it's new. Because it's like, tell me, really? Really? I already know Superman's backstory. Fucking almost anybody, it's like Batman or Spider-Man. Almost any kid that's 10 years old could tell you the backstory of those three people or characters. Yeah. And it's like, it's part of our myths. It's part of our culture. Just create a new character. Give us a new perspective. Do something with that character. It's like race or gender swapping a character in a movie or television show versus the book or the source material. Okay, cool. But if you just do it and then do nothing with that character, it's tokenism. They did it in The Stand. They took an old white farmer, well, an older, like in his mid-40s, white farmer, and turned him into a mid-40s Asian woman. And then, he was more the conservative outlook of the good guys in the book. She was just straight up spouting shit like she was, a MAGA hat wearing Trump supporter in the miniseries that just finished. They did nothing with the character. And I'm like, why did you change this character's gender, race, only to do nothing with the character? Like, not explore any of the reasons you changed the race. If you just did it just so you can go, see, we have non-white characters, that's tokenism.
I agree with you. And I don't want to necessarily, because I know we're still kind of talking about the Superman thing, and I don't know what Ta-Nehisi Coates or J.J. Abrams or anyone's intentions are on this. From the limited things that I do know about Ta-Nehisi Coates, I would not think that he's going into this going, I need a black Superman. When he went to write for Marvel, he initially started writing Black Panther, but from what I've heard, when he signed the contract to come on to write Black Panther, he said initially he wanted to write Captain America. And he only took Black Panther with the understanding that when Captain America became available, because they had somebody pretty big writing him at the time, when he became available, that they would let him write Captain America. I don't get the feeling that Ta-Nehisi Coates is looking to, as an agenda, inject the black experience into comics. Is he going to write what he knows? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that he needs to make every character, represent his point of view. So I'm assuming that, and I hope that they're going into this casting for all races and picking the one that they think is going to be the best. I think if you are going into this, starting with we need to write a black Superman story, you're way more likely to end up with a poor story that nobody's going to attach to anyway. Yeah,
it's kind of weird how it works because to me, in my mind, the creative process should work like, okay, what are we going to do for our run on this Superman comic? And you sit down with the artist, I'm assuming if you're the writer, and you work things out, unless you're Grant Morrison apparently, then you just write very descriptive things and send it to the artist and let them do whatever they want with it.
First you take a lot of drugs.
Yeah, that helps too.
Then you meditate on it for a while. Then
you perform some magic.
Then in a night that you've completely forgotten, the next day a script appears that you've apparently written, you turn that in, and then the artists try and make sense of it.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the process.
But no, I mean, like, to me, it would be like, okay, let's come up with a story arc. Okay, what do we got Superman doing? Okay, cool, wonderful. But I mean, we got 80 going on 100 years. Well, going on 90 years of Superman.
Yeah.
Let's put a new spin on it. And then someone goes, what if we make him black? That should be the last. If we're going to make Superman black and everything is going to come from that, I'm not saying it's destined to fail, but
not a strong point to start.
Not a strong starting point, yeah.
Because there's no inherent story in that.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, if you are working out story ideas and you keep coming to, well, this really only works if he's black, then that's fair. Like, that's how you come to decide, like, your characters should all like conform to your story ultimately, and that's why these, we think about Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and all these characters having these strong personalities and things that we can identify with, but that's really just us cherry picking as fans and going, because we've been shown many, many different versions of all these characters, many, and most of them we've just chosen to forget because that doesn't seem to represent what we at their core think of what Batman or Superman or any of these characters represent. So we're doing a lot of work on our end as fans, deciding what ultimately is the shape of this character and what it represents. But I kind of got off track there, but yeah, if you really need to start with story, and these characters are malleable enough that you can kind of mold them into any story that you need to. And if you're distorting them too much, then you kind of got to go, is this the right character for the story? Am I trying to tell a Batman story with Superman? So if they're coming at it from a place of like, this is a story that we want to tell, and ultimately it's going to be a better story if we make them black, then that's the story I want to hear. If you're working your way backwards from it, I'm not interested, really. It could be brilliant, and if it turns out to, then I'll check it out, but I'm not having my hopes up for it.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
It's kind of like I saw the trailer for Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I've avoided it so far, but yeah, we're going to see the show itself in a couple weeks.
Well, if you've avoided it, I'm only going to bring up one point.
Oh, I'm not worried about spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like they're sharing the mantle of Captain America, which, okay, fine, whatever.
Co-captains.
But it's like, I'd rather you just put Falcon in Captain America's outfit and get it over with. Because, isn't that what Steve Rogers at the end of Endgame, or whichever one it was, when he's like, here you go. He handed it to Falcon.
Yeah, I know enough to know.
Handed it to Bucky.
I know enough to know that when I saw that trailer, I went, wait, isn't Chris Evans supposed to be gone now? Is Captain America supposed to be black? Just picked up from what you guys have talked about.
Oh, that's what I thought was going to happen. And I'm just wondering if Marvel, and this is going to be one of those instances where it's like, I'm going to say something and people are going to go, oh, but it's the truth. If Marvel was like, well, how about we have them share the mantle of Captain America because we don't want to piss off white people. Fuck white people. Fuck them. Are you serious? It's a fucking comic book movie.
Yeah.
Okay? This isn't fucking high fucking art. Wait a minute, that come off the wrong way. But it's not fucking, you're not fucking with the building blocks of what built, Captain America. You're not turning Captain America into a Hydra agent, which is what Marvel did. But still, you know what I'm saying? Like, he handed the fucking shield to Falcon. Let him put on the fucking uniform. If there's white people who are, oh, I ain't gonna watch any more Marvel stuff because they got a black Captain America. Okay, good. Continue that and continue not watching the NFL because I loved watching my team win the Super Bowl this year. So I don't know. I had a good time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Care.
People say that, and then they always cave, right? Mostly, people will be talking about it, like, "Oh, did you see that new Captain America?" No.
Well, look.
I guess I got to go see it now because everyone says it's good.
I know it's like the old Chris Rock bit. There's no crack dealer sitting around in a house full of crack going, how am I going to get rid of all this crack? Right. Pretty much sells itself.
I'm kind of disappointed by the concept of them co-sharing because I'm with you, like that we were already shown that the mantle was handed over. Whether you want to think that Bucky was skipped over, story-wise, I thought it made more sense to go to Bucky than to go to Falcon, but also, Bucky wasn't really in the healthiest place. Maybe he wasn't prepared to take over the mantle at that point. He was still kind of recouping from being brainwashed and having his arm ripped off.
Yeah. And by the way, just because the phase 3 has come to an end, or whatever the phase and has come to an end, and we might see some of the staples of the last decade of the Marvel movies go away, the universe goes on. And in the Marvel universe, Bucky helped save the world, but isn't he still like an enemy of the state? Yeah. So you can't really have him be Captain America.
The government, this guy who was a Russian agent, but only temporary, and only because he was brainwashed. And yes, he has some foreign technology in his body, but that's only there's a lot of reasons why Bucky shouldn't be involved in this program at all.
Yep. Pretty much. Look, so far the Marvel movies, besides Disney's shut up, consume product, wait for next product breathlessly type attitude. They've done a decent job, I think, of handling this stuff. And I mean, if they handle it to where they actually address those situations that you brought up, and I brought up about Bucky in the show,
yeah,
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong. Basically,
well, look, they've earned it so far.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
They've earned that much, like. And, you know, I'm not looking at Marvel getting every aspect of every story perfect. You know, that's not what I'm looking to them. I'm not looking to them for tight, gripping storytelling. Like, I'm looking for, you know, convincing performances from good actors with great characters and big stories. And if they're getting the larger beats right, that's all that really matters. You know, I don't know if you're caught up with WandaVision, but the last episode, was pretty big, you know, episode where they were kind of laying out everything that's been happening in the story so far. And some of it, I was like, some of it was like straight up pissing me off. I'm just going, this is lazy. This is lazy writing. Why did they have to do that? And oh my God, this dialogue is horrid. And then they have this moment where, you know, like there's two moments in there that I legitimately shed a few tears over. You know, and just one moment from Vision and one moment from Wanda, and I'm like, that's what's important. If you're nailing those moments and they make sense and they tie everything in together in your story, that's it. Like, that's the whole reason why we're telling stories in this format, is because so we can say this is a fantasy world, and so there's going to be some things that we gloss over, right? That's just the story that they're telling. They're not. That's why it takes place in a fantasy world, so that they can kind of just blow out these concepts into bigger things and not get lost in the details of like, well, wait, how did he get from point A to point B? And it only took him how long? And when does he go to the bathroom? And how does he shit in that suit? You know, like none of that shit matters to the story, right? Now, if you're trying to tell some gripping, hard-edged drama with Kevin Bacon and he's like an ex-cop, and I'm like, okay, I want to see those details, right? That's the story you're telling. I have to know what's going on, and you're telling me that this is taking place in my world, that it needs to look like my world. Marvel doesn't take place in my world. That gives you all the leeway in the world.
By the way, Rich, I believe your Vision and Eurovision meme, you know, you said you were going to show yourself out of the chat. I thought that was a good example of sometimes humor doesn't need to have 7 levels, man. Sometimes it's funny as funny. That shit was funny.
I don't know. I saw it and I thought of the podcast, and I sent it, and I was like, puns are the lowest form of humor.
I've in fact shared it on unregimented social media.
I disagree.
Really?
Puns get a bad rap. I like them.
I always thought that
depends on the pun.
The two things I've heard from academics in my life about comedy and small talk is puns are the lowest form of humor, and remember when is the lowest form of conversation. And I'm like, so conversations that everybody have is beneath you? Yeah. Is this what you're trying to say?
Those are people who have disappeared up their own asshole, Rich.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm a little slow on the uptake, okay? Took 43 years, but I'm getting there, okay?
Yeah, that dude sounds like no fun.
Well, it's just like,
sounds like a blast.
One of the YouTube guys that I watch, you know, he brought up, he talked about, is a different guy than the Black Libertarian guy. I think his name's Eric July, if you want to look him up. He's, for listeners, I can only say I watched the video because the Superman content. I don't know any of his content of his other videos. But I was watching another YouTube guy, and he basically was like, you know, shit, lost my thought. Okay, anyways, on to the next one. Just completely had a brain fart. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys.
Weed does that.
Jesus.
What was the YouTuber's name? The YouTuber that you were talking about. Eric
July.
Eric July.
I think July, I think, is his last name.
I didn't know if that would jog.
It seems like looking at the. Yeah, no. But if you look at his videos, he's a black guy with a big beard, and he's always wearing a baseball hat. Kind of hard to miss him. But yeah, I know. Another YouTuber I was watching was talking about the Black Superman thing, and they were like, "Look, you know, Marvel has changed the person playing characters before. And the one that he used was the new Miss Marvel, which is, what's her name?
Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan, yeah. He's like, now the mantle of Miss Marvel has been passed around. That makes sense, and he's like, once again, I can get on board on that easier. He goes, we're suspending disbelief. We're reading and watching comic books and comic book movies, but whatever. And I was like, I kind of feel like I understand the thought process behind we want to be inclusive on DC's end, but at the same time, you put out a fucking and he calls J.J. Abrams Jar Jar Abrams, which cracks me up for some reason. But
what it stands for.
But he's like, he puts a movie out with a black Superman. He goes, in today's climate, you're going to turn people off just because the attitude of the fans of the black Superman are going to be like, yeah, you don't like it? Fuck you, don't go to the movie. And people are going to be like, well, then I'm not going to the movie then. Fuck you. And he's like,
it'll do terrible, and everyone will be racist because it did terrible.
But
I don't think so. I think Superman is almost impervious to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think...
Even that shitty emo Superman movie with Brandon Roth, where he just stands outside Lois's window and pouts for the whole fucking movie almost. Even that thing did.
I think with Superman, you got a built-in demand with kids. That helps.
Which means the adults coming along.
Well, right. I mean, look at all the sexual politics about the Captain Marvel leading up to that. Do we think that any of that affected the sales? It might have actually affected the sales for the positive.
The one thing I will say is I think Captain Marvel is one of the weakest Marvel movies.
I hear the word of mouth is what hurt that movie wasn't that it was a woman, is that the movie wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
that's
by the way,
what I'm trying
to say.
Worst
Marvel movie, as far as I've seen, Iron Man 2. Oh, no, Incredible Hulk with, ironically, Edward Norton. I would say Iron Man 2. It's 1A, 1B, and it's not that. And then then I would put Captain Marvel. But they're still watchable. It's just they're not the best.
What's funny is that people are accusing like DC or Marvel as they're trying to recreate their properties for a younger audience, or trying to be more politically correct by giving us a new version of whatever. And like all they're doing is just drawing from the long history of these characters. Take, for example, Thor, right? The next Love and Thunder, the next Thor movie is going to feature, we're going to see Jane Foster as Thor. Now, a lot of people were like, oh, they're trying to put a female Thor. That makes no sense. They're just doing this because they're bending to the will of the politically correct. And then others more knowledgeable are pointing out, well, they've already done this like a decade ago in the comics. And then old heads like us may have read fucking What If number, I was just one of the single digit What Ifs from the 70s, from the original What If run. And there she is. What if she got the hammer? What if Jane Foster was Thor, right on the cover with the fucking outfit and everything?
Oh, by the way, Chris,
this is nothing new.
No, from what I know,
we happen to know her character
was Natalie Portman. No, I've seen the movie. I've seen the
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and from what I know about that, right? Isn't like Thor now like it's kind of like King Arthur, like the power's in the hammer. It's not who you are.
Yeah, and it's always been like that. The original version of Thor that was in the comics, Donald Blake was a doctor who found the staff originally and read the inscription and banged it, and he became Thor. And for the longest time, Thor was like Shazam was, or the original Captain Marvel from DC Comics, where it was one person that would embody a god for the purpose of fighting crime. And then later on, they kind of retconned that and made Thor his own dude. So yeah, the whole concept of being able to pass a mantle like that, and the fact that it could go to a woman even, that goes back before most y'all were born. So, is Marvel or DC going to pull up the things that they think are going to hit the market in the right way? Like, hey, let's bring back this concept of this character, because I think that This would do really well right now. Absolutely. That's called sales.
Natalie Portman's probably pumped. 'Cause she's going to get
And-
some work.
And again, that's why these characters last, because they are plastic. Whatever version of Batman it is that you want to read, it's out there right now. There's so many fucking Batman comics. You can read everything from a reboot to the Batman 66 TV show to a continuation of the Batman animated series to a Black Label Batman swings his dick out in public.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't know about this until probably about 4 or 5 months ago. Excuse me. Sorry about that. There's a Batman comic that was, I don't know if it was a limited run series or something, but where it's all steampunk.
Oh, God. I'm just exhausted thinking about reading that.
And I'm just like, okay. But
Are you
then,
talking about Gotham by Gaslight?
I guess.
that
It was
was
described
like
as a steampunk
late 80s.
Batman. Was that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they may have done
Did they
a newer
reprint it
one.
or something? Maybe like
I mean, that's the
stuff?
closest thing I've ever seen to anything that would be described as steampunk. I mean, it takes place, pre-electricity, and Batman, he has to have gadgets, so he's got all these more like steampunk-looking gadgets. That it's not like full-on steampunk universe.
Okay.
But,
Okay. See, I thought maybe that's where the Batman That Laughs came from.
The Batman that laughs is just from another universe.
Okay. But yeah, but see, DC has set themselves up just fucking decades and decades ago for this. They could have alternate Earth versions of their superheroes. And that's what Crisis on Infinite Earths was. It was supposedly in the 80s. DC's universe had gotten so unruly and out of control with all these alternate realities and shit. They tried to bring it back and just, okay, they're all on one Earth. This is the canon Earth. This is where the real shit happens. This is not alternate universe. And then 25 years later, they had to reboot again because they fucked it all up again.
They tried to do that again recently. So there was a failed relaunch.
So it was even more recent. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So Dan DiDio was fired after a decade as publisher of DC Comics, and part of his plan was getting back to the original concept of unification and making everything matter. Saying, creating a single universe that all of these stories could and would exist in.
Yeah.
And that, and actually they started putting out these weird timelines of here's the date of the first of, trying to plot this stuff out when they've spent all this time constantly shifting the timeline for us to be updated, right? So I don't really get the idea of trying to make Batman literally 100 years old, right? At best. Because the character's 80 years old, so we're going to assume he starts at 20.
Well, I mean, he is a billionaire,
right?
Trillionaire probably now, adjusting for inflation. Maybe he can afford some life-extending drugs that we don't know about.
Do we have trillionaires yet?
All that got scrapped anyway for what they have now, which is Future State, and it's just basically allowing them to tell more alternate universe stories, which in the end is just fracturing it more, which is DC should stick with that. That is one of their strengths, is being able to tell these really great alternate universe stories that also sell really well. They have a whole series of Earth 2 graphic novels, a totally different format that they aren't released monthly. They'll come out every couple of years. There'll be a Green Lantern Earth 2 story that you can buy off the shelf, complete story, complete graphic novel, and it's completely separate from what's happening in the main Green Lantern comic. And those do really well for them. All the Black Label stuff that I mentioned earlier. Some of that takes place in continuity, and some of it doesn't.
By the way, Chris, real quick, what was your question you asked?
I forget.
Okay,
Sorry. About trillionaires?
Are there trillionaires yet?
Isn't Bezos a trillionaire?
Not yet.
I'm not talking liquid. I'm talking everything.
He's a high.
He's only got it's 3 billion?
Was it
I thought was it the highest?
Next 5 years. Next 5 years for sure, he'll be a trillionaire.
don't forget how big of a jump from $1 billion to $1 trillion. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why I said he may not be liquid but I mean, on paper, all his assets, or Bill Gates.
Well, it's all about the valuation of the companies they own, right? That's
I mean,
that's
because if you own the company, well, yeah, you know what? Now that
they're not touching anywhere near a
Near
trillion.
$1 billion. A trillion.
If you want to like factor in inflation and try and figure out where that takes us, I mean, we're decades and decades off.
No, I got you. I was okay. So, see, now that's me putting 100 on 10. Sorry, folks. There's no trillionaires in the world. That's me exaggerating for comedic effect. That apparently.
There will be some
went down in a horrible fucking flames.
By the time we die, there will definitely be some trillionaires.
I don't know. I'll die. There'll definitely be trillionaires. Maybe, but
I mean, inflation would have to go horribly out of control for that to happen in our lifetime.
I mean, we saw the rise of billionaires in our lifetime. When we were little, it was all about millionaires. And then when we were adults, it became about billionaires.
Yes, but don't forget, numbers are exponential. It's not like it's not like one more step. Like you get to, going from 1 million to 2 million, it's just a million more, right? Going from 1 million to 1 trillion is 1,000 times.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying there's companies out there where there's 900 something billion is like they're getting there. But they're
okay. Companies, yes. Individuals, no.
Correct.
Well, I mean, still, how about this? Just give us, all three of us, $1 billion. We're good. We don't need any more. That'll be, in fact, might be the last time you hear some of us on this show. And we'll split it 3 ways. You can even tax us. I don't care. Wait, $500 million after taxes, split 3 ways? Yeah, I'm good.
Or we could just get Gaga's dogs.
Yeah.
That's a quick way to get $500,000.
Wait a minute. Okay. Now I'm living under a mushroom. What'd she do with her dogs? Because it sounds like
she didn't do shit.
She was touring or something. She was, I don't know. Oh, she was filming. That's what she was filming, a movie. Her dog walker had her dogs. She has 3 French bulldogs, and those are, people steal those things because they can get up to $10,000 for a good French bulldog.
And someone shot her dog walker.
That's way more than you're getting out of a liquor store robbery, right? So they approached and said, "Hey, give me your dogs," and the dog walker wouldn't give them up, and so they shot him once in the chest. Took 2 of the dogs. One of the dogs got away. They recovered the one dog that got away. Some lady turned in the other 2 today. No questions asked, because that was because Gaga said $500,000. Just give me my dogs back. No questions asked. And I'm sure the guy in the hospital was like, "Thanks."
Right. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you're handing me back 2 dogs someone pumped a hot one into somebody's chest for. But the police might want to. I have no other questions, but the police might do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the dog walker is going to be fine. I mean, he was in critical condition, but he seems to be recovering fine. It wasn't like they shot him and he went out. Like, he was conscious enough to be screaming, "I've been shot in the chest." So that kind of tells you right there how serious the wound was. But yeah, I mean, this guy is probably not going to want for anything in his life, right?
I was about to say,
he's got it set.
She's going to pay him forever.
Even if he has a fallout with Gaga.
Exactly. He's going to be always on the payroll.
One who took a bullet for Gaga's dogs. You want me doing your shit for you?
Oh, see, if I was him, I'd be like, I'm gonna need a big Christmas bonus. I'm gonna need
I'm sure that she's
your
taking
sex
care
tape,
of doctor bills. Like, this guy is probably gonna have a very nice year.
Yeah, even if he doesn't end up working for her, if they have, like Aaron said, if they have a falling out, he is now a line item on her fucking payroll forever.
I bet you, yeah.
I mean, dude,
probably.
Seriously, if I had Lady Gaga money and I had someone walking my animals and someone shot. The person that was doing it was shot by going, "No, you're not taking these animals." I would feel more than obligated. I would feel indebted to that person to take care of them as
Honestly,
best as I can.
Like
seriously, dead serious.
I can't definitively say what I would do with my money if I had millions and millions of dollars, but I cannot imagine not immediately going, here's $500,000 to the guy who got shot. Here's another $500,000 to get my dogs back.
And let me tell you something. This is me. I've walked out of my room and can't find my cat and got worried because she's old. You know what I'm saying? Like so if you took a bullet for my animals and I got fuck you money, you came up like 7-Up money because here's some. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't. You have to. A quarterback who's only sacked 3 times in a 16-game season plus the playoff run during a whole year of playing football better take care of his offensive line or he's getting buried next year. That's the point I'm trying to get at. Like, if she better take care of him. He took a fucking bullet for your goddamn animals.
Somewhere right now. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that is dedication to a job that I've never had. I've never worked a job I'm willing to die for.
It really sounds like that guy. I mean, he probably loves those dogs as much as Gaga does, right? I would imagine this guy's been taking care of these. I mean, this wasn't just another gig for him, or else he'd be like, take him. Honestly, I don't care whose dogs I'm walking. If somebody waves a gun in front of my face, I'm like, these are your dogs, sir. I don't know what.
This guy's probably like, dude, I get $100K to walk.
I just came to give them back to you.
Yes, I was. It's funny you stuck the gun in my face because I was bringing them to you.
Yeah,
I mean, half these.
This guy probably gets this guy probably gets 6 figures to walk dogs. So fuck yeah. I mean, and then too, this is a movie in 2 years, right?
But
like,
this sounded like this guy reacted like
right
somebody
now.
was like, "Give me your fucking kids." You know, like any parent would be like, "Fuck you, you've got to shoot me to take my kids," right? And that's essentially what he's saying.
This guy probably pulls down this sweet. This guy probably was a waiter like 7 years ago, and now he's pulling down 6 figures to walk dogs. Hell yeah, no! You got to take these dogs from my cold dead hands.
Gavin Newsom's going to put him on security detail,
right? Well,
he's on.
Let me tell you something. That's better security than they had all last summer and at the Capitol on fucking January 6th.
Yeah, no shit.
But it's funny you bring that up about the kids. There's a meme that's been around for a few years. It didn't really hit the tip top of the meme world, but you may have seen it. It's a series of pictures of a family watching TV, a mom and dad and 2 kids, and then these 2 guys with guns and ski masks run in and they put the guns to the parents' head, and they're like, "We're going to kill one of your children. Pick who lives." And the mother immediately points to one of the kids, and the guys pull off their mask, and they go, "Now you know who her favorite is. Do what you will with that information." And they walk out. I'm just like, because... Man, look, it's your kids. I understand, but everybody's got their favorite child. Let's stop bullshitting here. Everybody's got their favorite the product of their loins. I mean, if you got more than one, I'm assuming one is a little easier to deal with than the other. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, not a parent, but I imagine, there's one that gives you more grief than the other one. There's one that's more pain in the ass to deal with than the other.
The
father on the show is silence, as he should be.
Well, the best I can give you is which cat I'd pick. So, sorry, Noodle.
Oh, that's so wrong. Like, Bass seems like she's ready for the next world. She's named after a god. Like, Noodle's a potato walking around. Like, poor Noodle. The afterlife for Noodle, she's going to be so confused. She's not going to know what's going. Where's my food bowl? Did the skinny human let the fat human move back in? He ate all my food. What happened? I don't understand what's going on here. But no, it is what it is, man. You love your animals, you love your children, you love, but yeah. And by the way, my mom said to me years before she ever got sick with cancer, I should have had more than one kid because the way I treated you, you'll never take care of me. And I was the only one there for her when she was dying. And I'm like, well,
she's
a kid, huh?
So you're telling me if I had a sibling, you would have treated them better than me? Thanks.
Hey, there's a reason I am like I am, and you never met her. Okay, she died before I knew you, Aaron. So
Yeah.
I know where I stand. Trust me. You walked in my mother's house on the day she died, and there was pictures of her with her animals, like portrait pictures, like professional, with her animals from back in the 70s. There was no pictures of me in the house. Okay, so what's that? Dead animals have more fucking precedence.
Dude, he had Adam Carolla's mom.
Or I was thinking Archer's mom. Remember the dog? Too stupid not to eat the chocolate. All right. Well, is that about it then for today?
Yeah. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Hey, we're on social media. Like us on Facebook. On Twitter at UnregimentedPod. Email unregimented@ChristopherMedia.net if you want to drop us a line that way. Hit the PayPal button or the Amazon banner if you would like to help us out. And listen to us everywhere. But mainly now YouTube it's the new kid on the block. I mean, wherever there's a podcast now, we're there. So listen to us and hit us up on YouTube if you listen to us that way. You listen to us through the YouTube app on your phone now if that's how you want to get down. We just want ears. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.